like to tell there was a challenge to tell everybody about the difference between Aeropress brew and French press.
I love my Aeropress.
Can you hand me a microphone thingy? All right. So, to start off, we want to have a conversation as to why are there different brew methods? Why do people not make things the same way? And if you picture coffee, I have to use both my hands here. Coffee often has a spectrum of flavors, of its lightest notes to its heaviest notes. And what all the different brew methods will do is kind of zero in on one of those areas and kind of capture that specific range of flavors. Sorry, I got a dryness in my throat.
Do you need some coffee?
It's okay. We also are passionate about coffee.
I just started talking about it, and
do you need a tissue?
And I'm tearing up a bit because I just love coffee so much.
I do too.
You are a precious cinnamon bun.
Feels
All right.
must go round and round.
I don't think Serge is gonna make it through coffee talk.
All right, real talk. So, a French press and an Aeropress actually occupy two very different sides to coffee. And they utilize two sort of different techniques. The French press is what you call a full immersion technique. And what a full immersion is, you take all of your coffee, you immerse it in all of your water, and then you remove the coffee grinds and you're left with the water. A comparison to that would be a batch brewer, where you have the coffee and you pass water through it, like a stream of water passes through it, would be different. Go ahead, Matt.
So I was just going to say, since we have a little, clearly engineering is there, because they just pulled up a browser, can we get you to pull up an image of a French press and an Aeropress, so that people who are in the chat that may not know what these are can have some context for what we're talking about.
Excellent point, Matt. So while we're waiting for the images to go up, I'll do sort of high-level notes and stuff like that. So the French press, as we talked about, is a full immersion brew. You leave everything inside of it. The Aeropress it was originally marketed as a way to make espresso from home, and espresso is something that people often misunderstand and thinking it's something different. Espresso is just another way to brew coffee. And then much like everything else we look at with coffee, it finds a specific range of flavors. So espresso coffee typically tastes excellent. That is a good-looking thing. We can share that image. So an Aeropress wanted to mimic espresso in the fact that it uses pressure to try and squeeze out the flavor in the coffee. So what you do is you would put your coffee in the bottom, that's actually two tubes that compress. Mm-hmm. You put your coffee in the bottom of it, you'd add water, you'd wait a certain amount of time, and you'd use your hand to press water through it. Now the funny thing is, an espresso machine generates about 7 bars of pressure. And the idea that a human with our feeble little flesh arms could come anywhere close to that shows why the Aeropress kind of moved away from being a home espresso unit to just a way to brew a cup of coffee at home, which is quite nice. Some of the finer details is, because a French press is full immersion, I should go back a couple seconds there. I'm just trying to think of how to best organize all the thoughts and put them into place, and there's a lot of different thoughts there.
Good luck. This is
just let it gush,
you know?
Yeah.
Just let it gush.
Yeah. So what do you think about a Melita then?
I don't know what that is. What's a Melina? Oh no, I killed Kate.
You killed her. Right.
Oh no.
Our first Desert Breast fatality.
You don't know what a Melita is?
I don't.
This is a great space for us to learn.
Oh my god. I'm going to bring mine tomorrow for you,
Yay!
Serge.
Oh sure, please. I'd love.
Melita is a French from Quebec.
Okay.
Not from the other part of Frenchness.
So Quebecois.
Yeah.
Quebecois. It is a coffee that you make through a cone.
Yeah.
With a paper filter.
Yeah. Is it the one that you tap the button afterwards and all those? Because that's clever.
It's all super low tech.
Is it a pour-over method?
Boil the kettle, pour it over, funnels through, and comes out the bottom.
Oh, that's also just called a pour over. That might be a specific type of pour over.
Well, no, there's a specific filter that goes with it.
Does it have the curly bits and the ribby things?
It has ribbies.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's made in Montreal.
I believe we actually had that in Seattle on a coffee vlog I did with Graham.
I will.
But I thought I heard that was as a Delita, as a different thing,
no, it's
not with an M.
Melita.
Oh.
I have 2 of them, and so much so I will
Cool.
bring you one.
That's
to taste.
fantastic.
I say Melita and I say Delita. Let's call the whole thing.
No, great. I'd love to check that out. All right. So, there are a number of things that affect how flavor comes out of coffee, which is another reason why there's different brew methods. We talked about with espresso, you have pressure. Pressure is the main thing that's really forcing everything to it, and you do a couple different things to change the grind to bring it out. With a French press, A couple of other examples are surface area, so the coarseness of the grind, the amount of time you put it in, the temperature of the water, if you use agitation. Like there's a number of variables that do everything. So if we're looking at two differences, again, between the Aeropress and a French press, a French press being full immersion, you have time fairly locked down. The coffee and the water are spending a lot of time in contact with each other. And so one of the things you do to minimize over extraction is you put very, very, very coarse coffee inside of it. So French press is often the coarsest setting you can get on a grinder. An Aeropress, on the other hand, because you're using that vacuum extraction, it's spending a very little amount of time together, the water and the coffee, you have a very fine extraction in order to compensate for the difference in time and everything. So that's a kind of high level one. I don't want to get too into like the fine details
I'm
behind
just
it.
going to add one more point.
Sure,
Seeing
please.
as I am a coffee snob, and
I
I'm
love it.
definitely a coffee snob. So the Bodum, which is the French press,
Yep. Bodum's a brand of French press.
I will tell you for sure and without a shadow of a doubt, if you use the fine ground coffee in one of those instead of the coarse ground coffee,
Yeah.
it explodes.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Ooh.
What do you mean it explodes?
It doesn't explode. What happens is as
No,
you
no. I depressed it, and there must have been a weakness in the glass somewhere.
Oh no.
And so I got a fair bit of pressure going before the like a teeny tiny little chip popped out of the bottom,
and I just went everywhere.
and it went like 40 feet in each direction.
I've had huge
I'm
messes
still looking
come from
for
it.
it. I'm still looking for where
Because
it's
as you're
Use
pressing,
Top 10 anime
so the
Top
other
10
thing,
anime betrayals.
so one thing that you very commonly find in a French press is you have a very fine metal filter at the top that you use to press down and actually hold the coffee at the bottom so you can press it through. It's not meant to filter the coffee; it's just meant to get out of the way so you can pour it without it ending up. So what Kate is seeing there is probably the very, very, very fine coffee instead of the coarse coffee, made it so the water couldn't press through. So what you ended up doing is creating a vacuum at the bottom because you're just putting all this pressure on something and had no way to escape because the fine grains were clogging everything.
Yeah.
The worst coffee accident I've ever seen, short of an espresso machine exploding, but we're putting that over. Hey! 110 high!
Okay, can somebody donate exactly
I know numbers. Can we get exactly a $100 donation?
Only one of you.
I really want one.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was cool.
It's okay.
We can
It's all
make it
good.
We can
happen.
still
It can still
try.
happen.
Yeah.
Chat, I want to
It's
see
coming in.
111111,
Let's see if
please.
we can do it.
Can Chad, can
That'll-
you make it say 111112 just to
We have
avoid
very
Serge?
little to go to make $20,000
I
on
was going to
Matt's
say
and my
that,
chef.
and that'll put
One,
you
one,
two
one,
over
one, one, one.
20,000.
Yeah,
That's what I was
we're
We can do
very
this.
close.
We can do this.
Hold on.
Also,
Matt and I are doing a good job.
yeah, the shift total's almost at 20,000.
I'm having
I
fun,
believe.
so
I believe.
that's a good
80,
job.
$90. I want
So
$90.
I keep handing it.
$90 just one time.
We maybe get
$91 this one time.
Chat, I believe in you. No, don't listen to Kathleen.
Don't listen to Serge. listen to me.
$90. $90 will be the perfect thing.
Wait, look, I mean, come on. Look at this beautiful cinnamon roll and look at me. Who do you want to listen to more? Serge
afraid
or
of more.
Kathleen?
Don't listen to the little devil on your shoulder.
Yeah,
Believe in
yeah.
hope. We
Yeah,
can do
listen to
nice
the little
things.
devil on Serge's shoulder.
That is where she is right now. If we hit 11111, I can make Kathleen go away. We'll never have to listen to her again.
Oh, I doubt that
For
at
your other
all.
shoulder.
Evil Kathleen?
I like turtles.
Yeah, which Kathleen?
I also like turtles. Wow.
I love turtles.
You are the angel on my
I'm
shoulder,
so
Alex. I knew
all
it.
About, you know what? Forget coffee. Just turtles.
Just
I
turtles?
don't know about
turtles.
that. You're sounding less
No.
like an angel.
I think you need
people
to give
donate
up coffee and pursue your true
Yeah,
calling.
I'm
You
trying-
tell them, Liz.
I'm
You
trying
tell
to
them.
figure out the
Tea.
$5.09
Pursue
multiple.
teas.
It's just-
10
I know I said
people
turtles,
donate.
not tea.
No.
Real talk.
Beyond that.
99999.
It's $10
Number one.
each.
Ones.
10.
Ones for days.
I mean, we could have
How many tens would we need? We need
That would be great.
7 tens
but-
or 8 tens?
I don't want to make coffee out of turtles either.
pollution.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Who
Yeah,
wants
I
to
would like to
read?
know more about coffee.
9 10.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Did we finish coffee?
So if we got 9 tens.
Oh, we did it! We did it! Chat, I love you. I love you so much. No, it's fine. I'm so happy.
Thank you.
It happened for like 2 seconds. Take that, Kathleen. They never saw 11112. Somebody donated $1.
This is still the best Kelly Clarkson song.
Yes, you're correct. Thanks to you, now I get what I want. All ones. For the first time.
$20,000 shift total!
Thanks to you, now I get what I want. And that's all one.
Since you've been one.
Since you've been gone.
I believe
thank
in
you,
magic
Josh.
now.
It's so good, isn't
That
it?
was so good.
I don't think we're gonna need once a desert bus.
No, I was gonna say
danced on it.
All right.
That was
Nice.
delightful.
And in celebration, let me tell you the most horrible coffee accident I ever saw happen to a real barista.
Ooh, yay!
So let me take you back in time 4 years ago to the Parsonage, a little place that we know and that we
Oh,
love.
did you miss a bus
I
stop?
did miss a bus stop.
Matt Wiggins missing the bus stop.
That's okay.
That's
he
the
didn't crash. and
second
that's all
worst
good.
coffee accident ever is Matt Wiggins missing the bus stop. So it was 5 minutes before close, and there was quite a lineup of humans outside the door, and only little Shawnee was there. She was doing her best, and a couple of folks went up and ordered 2 Aeropresses just before we closed, and a bunch of food, a bunch of other drinks, and so she was trying to rush.
Oh,
And so she
no.
put coffee in the bottom, she filled it up with boiling hot water, she placed the top of the Aeropress down, and she begun to try and push down in a hurry, and it bent, and then hot water sprayed everywhere. Not just hot water, hot coffee grounds, which stuck to her skin like mud, so she couldn't even get it off, and she got second and third degree burns on herself while all these customers were lining up. And luckily I was at one of the tables, so I ran behind and just took over making drinks and on the till and everything while she ran to the bathroom and started like getting cold water on herself. And
Yeah.
Is she okay?
she's okay now, but it was bad.
She doesn't drink coffee
It
anymore.
was real bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Aeropress, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
That takes me back.